Hey, we're back. We took a little break from yesterday. Things got a little passionate, and that happens. That's okay. But we're back. Took a break, cooled off. We want to really, we just want to make sure we want to keep it clean and make sure that we're getting our point across and getting to solutions rather than just talking at one another or arguing with one another about where we're trying to get to because we all trying to get to the same place. Um, Rose is not here. Rose has some family stuff to get to that don't have nothing to do with what we just what y'all just listened to. Shout out to my brother. I love him and I hope he's doing well. Um, back, Ev, what's going on, right?
It's going down. It's going down.
Yep, 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 yep.
So we were talking about prison reform and the different methods of how to get to. Um, we didn't get your Ev and Ray. We didn't necessarily get y'all's like full piece on the topic. So whichever one of y'all want to hop in first, let's get to it.
I'll go. I'll go ahead and go first because I want to say to Nico's points that he was making. I agree with those. I just when you look at the context of the reality of where America is, the place that we stand in financially, who's in charge, who's in head, the likelihood of these things being done isn't there. It's not a high. It's not a high chance that these things could take place. And in my opinion, I look at it biasly, opinionatedly, whatever. That to make it where you do these things in abundance for prisoners, life for whatever sentence, you would have to fix the problem that's going on with your citizens, whether we're homeless, having those same resources in abundance for every one of your citizens, and make it where it's financially affordable for your citizens to get those things if you're going to provide those same resources and opportunities for prisoners. Because yeah, you want them to be able to re-enter, but I would honestly say I don't think I would want someone who committed a crime and who committed a bad act, whether it be violent or non-violent or anything. Someone who had to go and sit down for some time. I personally would hate for them to go in and get better resources and come out a way better person than someone who couldn't get those resources on the streets. And the only difference was they committed a crime, and so now they were afforded the likelihood to get these things. That's why I feel like that's it's just not a realistic thing with where we at in America.
Okay, right.
Um, I'm in the middle ground with it. I'm not against prison reformation because in totality, if we're looking specifically at this country, it's not effective in the way that it's presented on paper supposed to be. We have examples, just like I had already mentioned Texas as where it could work, but it's also understanding how those things could work. Where I'm at on it and building off of what Ev said, and even part of what Rose said is like, man, we need to have the real conversation if we're keeping it clean. It always falls back into financials. And for me, I don't like going into just the financial portion, nor do I like going into the hard extremes of it's either a light sentence or it was death or life without parole, because there's a lot of crimes that fall in between with that. And so my portion is the understanding that it doesn't always have to take that. I feel like you can still build certain things and do those rehabilitation portions on the outside. And that's where my focus would more so be. And unfortunately, we'll have to accept the fact that those that are already in a current situation will just have to fight it with the current methods. But we have to have a starting point because there is no way to win all across the board. Somebody's either going to feel away, finances are either going to be tapped into, somebody's going to lose, somebody's going to win somehow because we're trying to mix feelings with tangible facts. So if we back to the tangible fact portion of it, I can start to see what you're saying and we can start to build to what is the goal of a utopian society, because we do have places like Texas, that's an example, but we get there and saying, all right, I'm looking at those that might get a 20 to 60-year bid, but you're already 35, and based on your crime, it was a non-violent crime. So if we rehabilitate you, and if they already are giving you the possibility of parole, you can show your form of rehabilitation, in that manner. We know there's people that do community outreach that go into prisons and stuff like that. Those people on the outside can go in there for free since they're already volunteering and see if it looks like they build into conversations. We're training those people to go in there and have a community aspect. I think there's certain portions where it doesn't always have to be about the money. If you have a situation where we get to your point, Nico, as far as that could be a possibility of rehab, then for me, because of what I already mentioned, there's people that's already losing something. You have a jury of your genuine peers and the community there. It's not just the jury. They make a community decision. Now the community involved in what's going on, and if they're willing to take that on as people in that particular town or that particular county, you get somebody in there, you have a certain case, and they all talk about it. That's free. That doesn't take additional resources. And if that community then comes together and says this may not work, and I understand that comes with nuances because some people get caught up, obviously not in the area that they're from or whatever the case may be. But that's part of knowing what it is. To get to what you want, long story less long, I think it's going to have essentially almost a case-by-case basis, or we have to have an agreement of here's a threshold of where we can start using these examples to build towards that. It can't be an all or nothing jumping in. That's how I feel about it. Other than that, you're still going to have to deal with what Rose was saying. There's people out here doing shit and it's not a mental health thing. They're just doing it. And people feel that way. That's the other part of the spectrum. They're just out there doing it. And that makes it tough to just jump to everybody should get the ability to rehab.
I feel that I guess where I lose, I guess where that stance kind of loses credibility for me is if we focus on, because if we all understand that like those people, the people that we folks deem are just doing stuff, right? Can we all agree that that's like not the majority?
I can't.
I don't have those numbers and I don't know. I can't say everybody like, and that's where you get the slippery slope of mental health and because again, I don't know. I can't say every single person that's in jail has a mental health issue.
I'm not saying that.
I can't I can't say majority of people that commit a crime have a mental health issue. I can't confidently say that when you're watching certain things play out, it's not already tough enough to be subjective with what mental health is, and that varies even within our own society. Even if we're just talking about us, what the definition of mental health is so subjective, right? And we also see people playing into the system whenever they're going through a criminal prosecution of trying to deem themselves as needing some type of mental rehabilitation. Is that the large percentage? No. But is that a legal defense as of today? Yes. If that's on the table and it's something that's easily able to or be leaned into when you're playing around with those games, they make it seem subjective then. They're playing into that jury then and trying to make it look like somebody is crazy just to get off on a better sentence. And that goes both ways. I can't readily say that somebody committing a crime has some type of mental health issue unless we get into the more details of what that crime is. Because I know we're speaking generally, but like sometimes it would come down to an example.
So I'm not asking do most people committing crimes have mental health issues. That's not my question. I'm saying if we're gonna agree, and I don't agree, but if we're gonna agree that some people, again, it's all this stuff is alleged. So for the Big U's of the world, the R. Kelly's of the world, the Diddy's of the world, if we're gonna say those people just wake up intending to do bad, quote unquote, like they just want to do it, I'm saying, would you say majority of the people in prison are akin to that? Or would you say it's something else that's influencing them ending up in that spot? Or do you say they just wake up wanting to do bad?
No, I'm saying in this overall talk, because of the fact that it's not an either or, is what adds so much gray area to this goal that you're saying you're trying to achieve. It may not be just wanting to do bad. It may not be having a mental health issue. It could be just you might have thought that you weren't doing bad. You might have thought that law doesn't apply to you. You might have thought that I might not get caught. It could have a variance behind it, and it depends on the crimes. That's why I don't always want to go to a crime almost to the extreme of someone losing their life. Though I'm looking in that range of those people that get like a 10 to 15 to a 35 to 40-year sentence. How old were you? What was going on during that time? If I have a breakdown of You're 35. You have a blue collar job. You committed fraud. This is the third time you committed fraud, though. And even if we didn't have a 3-strike rule or in your respective state, this is the third time you committed fraud. Is that a mental health issue, or did you not learn from the first 2 times? If the first time was telling you, oh, we gave you probation, second time we gave you 90 days in jail, that's not a mental health thing. You weren't trying to do bad. You didn't wake up thinking I'm doing bad. You woke up thinking I'm gonna make a quick dollar. You looked at the positive of it. But this is your third time doing it. My God, like there's those types of nuances those types of examples. That's why I said a threshold, because I don't feel, if I was leaning towards your direction, it's not to say I'm against it. I don't feel all misdemeanors, I don't feel all felonies are the same. Some things are deemed as a felony just because it crossed a certain dollar amount. How much does that dollar amount mean in the grand scheme of things? Like that is that simple to tweak into a full felonious case, and now we're playing with that. Yeah, that person I feel like should be rehab. You stole a t-shirt from Neiman Marcus, and we know what them prices look like in there. It was a $1,200 blank white tee. Do I think that's a felony? No. Do I think it's stupid? Yes. Do I think you woke up thinking I'm trying to harm the community and do something bad? Also, no. But can rehab work for you? I'm cool with that.
So following with that, right? So even for, you know, the more serious crimes or for whatever the case is, would y'all say, like, so if we're saying, and when I say rehab, I'm talking therapy, I'm talking living amongst people that's not of your same understanding or your same ideology, which is what people do in prison. You got to live around different folks. You can't control it. I'm talking about furthering your education. I'm talking about learning the trade. I'm talking about doing things that make a person feel more as though they may have a purpose in a situation or in life type shit, which helps people make better decisions and gives people stuff to look forward to. You don't live so quick with it if you actually feel like you have something to live towards. So that being said, if we talking about prisoners, and that's what I'm looking for as far as treatment for them, right? Do we feel like they should get something different? Or do we feel like they should get something that's like less than that? Do we feel like we should, like, I guess, what's the alternative from what I'm saying to what y'all see?
I would have to hear your answer to that, to your own question, because what Ev presented was aiming more so, at least from my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, what Ev was saying, he was giving you the financial piece. What I was giving you was just the thought process behind it. So for your question, if you're wanting someone to buy into that belief, you would have to give them pieces from what you are saying to connect point A to point B. I would say answer your own question, and we could try to build off of that. What would you present that's going to speak to the financial portion that Ev was talking about? What would you present that's going to speak to, because it sounds so general in this moment of saying you want those things, you want this type of rehab, these are the styles that you're given. Either it has to be paid for, or if you have another solution to it not being paid for, what would that be?
And that was part of the conversation that I was trying, when I was saying those resources that you are saying that you want to provide, you can't provide those at a rate or at a benefit or in an abundance that outweighs what you're giving your good Samaritans out there on the street that's going through the same problems but aren't committing crimes.
I think that's a separate step. So I don't want to get off on that, because I think that's a separate step. To say for the financial piece, I would say the financial turnaround that it would be for a lower recidivism rate for your inmates, leading to a higher hiring rate and more employment, which leads to more money and more taxes. That would show you that the financial aspect of it is going to be beneficial for what's going on.
That is if you're putting things out there that would be beneficial to that current society. And I think because because there's so much of a difference between sticking with just the United States from state to state, it's tricky. What would be an advantageous business in Texas may not be an advantageous business in Georgia, Pittsburgh, whatever the case may be, right? So what would you be training them on? Do you even have the people there to do that type of teaching?
It would depend on the state, and with all of these questions, I mean, obviously, all of these questions would depend on whatever the state is going to be. But and we have to ask those questions, then they would be answered.
Because I could go into a little bit more detail, right? When I already brought up what Texas's recidivism rate was, and I know you're talking about more or less an outlier to what the states are. Texas was also willing to put themselves out there in a way that the other states weren't. You know, their rehabilitation portion does have credence, and you could study it and try to apply it to your state. Hell, most people don't even know that a lot of other states send their worst of the worst, the ones that they can't do the rehabilitation that you're talking about and probably has a higher chance of recidivism, to Texas. They be housed somewhere within the state of Texas, just like for as funny as that stereotype is of what Texas thought process is, it's interesting to see how much further of success that they have with it. You can take some of those benefits and try to apply it and go out there. There's people that are getting released that have a job 6 months before their actual release date hitting the streets. That goes for CDL drivers. They do electricity. They have brick and mortar like welding, plumbing, air conditioner. They do tractor services. They have automobiles. Like, we could just run down the list of jobs that look like they will be needed getting out there. But then also having that honest conversation, Texas in itself is so massive and has so many different things going on that works here. So to me, to summarize that, I'm thinking you almost have to do it state by state and
Right.
have certain examples, because I don't think you could shoot the half court shot and expect a high rate of success, because it's not the same thing everywhere.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I'll
that's
still
what
be
I-
pushing like what is reasonable, because even to tie to what you were saying it's all encompassing, what's going on the outside and what's going on the inside. So what would be that piece to try to mitigate some of those certain circumstances that you're speaking of? And that's when it still comes back to the financial portion. If you're saying certain things should be done on the outside, we all agree there. That's the obvious. Cool. So instead of just giving a grandiose idea, kind of like what I presented, if you got the community, I don't think in certain situations, if rehab is on the table, my mind would say there has to be some type of qualification so you would be able to utilize that rehab. Like this threshold, these standards or whatever was met, it was non-violent, or under this amount, or maybe doesn't surpass this certain circumstances that allow you to be eligible for the rehab that you're speaking of, at least for a starting point. And in that moment, instead of just having 12 jurors of your peers, if you're in a certain community, almost to the point to take a vote. Like, hey, all the people that are in the courtroom right now, you live here, you do this. What are y'all thoughts? Do you feel like he can come back and possibly be productive based on what's being listed here? Or if it's outside of that threshold and it's almost a little bit more extreme, maybe it was violent, but you can explain that it was a self-defense thing. And unfortunately, the way you went about self-defense, like, you know how you get in a fight and they have a range on how hard, or is it reciprocal damage, but you went a little too far. It was self-defense, and we understand that it's violent, but you just went too far trying to defend yourself. Having those types of situations, that's what I'm asking you, is like, what do you have either for the thought process, or what do you have to understand some of the financials? And that's a part of that conversation that kind of builds on what are we saying, because we could just say what point B is.
Yeah.
But are we taking a scenic route? Is there an express? You know, like what's getting us there?
I would ask, like, so for you, if you're saying there's a threshold to where you get to exercise the rehabilitation, right?
Mhm.
For the people that don't reach that threshold or that don't fall in line with what they have going on, what are they going to experience when they go away?
In my idea of a threshold, the people that aren't making it, to me, and I'm sure there's more, but at least off top, my first two things is either you were doing something where you had a reasonable release date anyways, 3 to 5, you know, like you know you're coming home at a reasonable time, like that type of time that you could do some rehab. But most of the times in minimal security situations, they're doing something that's still productive, and they're killing time in there. They're already eligible for classes when you go in. You're eligible to go to the law library, that type of stuff. You're minimal security. They're just making sure you did what you were supposed to do, and the restitution is more reasonable there in my scenario. If you burn down this business, but you're coming home in 3 to 5, you can easily work out like, hey, when I get back, and even while I'm getting on my feet, you pay me a little bit, but I'm spending this X amount of time to help you rebuild your shop or help rebuild this portion of the community of what you're doing. That can already be done. So I don't think that would qualify for the threshold I'm thinking of. Or on the other side, now you are just catching bodies just to catch bodies. It wasn't in the form of self-defense. Like you were doing something that was so violent or just across the board for all people involved. It's just not acceptable. Like touching the children or having those types of things. Like that's just not acceptable. You do not qualify for this threshold, and you just got to deal with it as it is. That's how I feel about it. That's where I'm at on it. I could probably argue either way, but what I feel as that citizen, you cannot come to me and say we're going to invest effort into rehabbing him or her. I'm not seeing that. You would have, and that's what I'm saying. You would have to walk me there.
So what do you invest your time into doing with those people while they're away?
I would say you invest the same. I would say you invest the same thing. It's just unfortunately it's at a lesser rate because to Ray's point, I would say your crime plus your sentence dictates the resources. Unfortunately, because like you said, you talking about reintegration and re-entrance into society. Well, guess what? We should value the person that we've given a sentence of 3 to 5 a little more than the person that's getting 10 to 12. Because guess what? 3 to 5 is my home soon. So it should be in that manner.
Okay. So are we saying that they would receive rehabilitation, just less?
Yes.
So
I genuinely don't have an answer. I don't know if and I'm not saying I don't have an answer as in the backup is what I was already saying earlier on it. What that crime was, that family may not feel like you deserve life. And I'm not comfortable enough to set up something to where you speak for those people that feel that way. Not everybody has that peace of mind. Or I don't even want to call it peace of mind and be disrespectful. What I'm saying is not everybody has walked that length that you were speaking of like you want that rehab and it's okay. You not okay in the manner of you're cool with it, but kind of what you're describing. Not everybody is there. And I don't have that to say on that extreme end.
Let me throw this out.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily weigh the families or the person affected's point of view as far as like a death penalty or a life sentence or whatever, because that's up to the state. Like however I feel about my cousin's killer, his consequence came at the hands of the state, not what I wanted to happen.
Yeah.
No matter what I wanted to happen, type shit. So in that sense, it's like, whether they feel like this or don't feel like this, it's like we have laws and shit set up to where it's like if you did XYZ, go over on the cross puzzle shit, it says you get this amount of time. So it's like that.
That's not completely true though, because in order for that sentence to be delivered, there was a juror of your peers, quote unquote, that said whether you were guilty or not.
Yeah, but it's not the family. They can't be the family.
But no, what I'm saying, but that they're a part of the community. Is what I'm saying. That's what I've been on the entire time. The community's involvement got you here. The community deemed that you were not appropriate to be back in the community. So they found you guilty. And then you got the sentence. I agree with you. The sentence is on the state. But what happened still affected the people. The people determined what it was and said, hey, person that can now lock him up or not set him free. We gave you our determination. So it still involves people. And to me now, if we're going to have a jury of our peers that's coming from that community, because if it's going the way that it's supposed to go, whoever gets selected lives in that county at minimum, lives in that city. So those are the same people that are going to be there whenever you release them back in. So in that same extension, I'm still considering the family. I don't think I have something, or I'm having a hard time. This is just me. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm having a hard time placing that type of threshold when that is a tangible thing. People are still involved in this process, either which way.
I guess I'm still so, and I don't want to get us in the revolving door type shit, but it's like so. Excuse me. So for what we got going on in prisons right now, will we say that's rehabilitative?
No.
Overall, not case by case. Overall, no. Right.
Overall, okay. I would say no.
Okay. So for whatever we have going on right now, we agree it got to be, so whatever is going on in there needs to be something geared more towards something, I guess, if we don't want to say rehabilitative, more humane.
I'm okay with humane.
Yeah.
I also feel like that's a different conversation, but I do think humane or humanity for sure. and needs it's significantly. I don't care what outlier state exists that's saying they have better recidivism rates. That does not mean you treated the people that the way that they were supposed to be treated while they were in there.
And hold on, Nick.
Yeah,
because what I want to say is everything that I was saying yesterday when I'm talking about the likelihood of these things happening, like humane. We know, we all probably agree these prisons should be more humane towards the prisoners. Guess what it takes to be humane? It takes more resources. It takes more resources for them to be more humane. And they don't want
resources to be humane is also crazy.
It sounds crazy as shit, right? That's how they treat them.
Need resources to be.
That's how they treat them, bro. They treat them
heinous,
they treat them worse, like just the numbers.
So Ray,
you're not wrong. It's just that sentiment. Like needing resources to be humane is so wicked. It's Ray, so wicked, bro.
I want to ask you, Ray, so I will ask you, what's the, I guess, when you look at prisons generally at the moment, what do you see right now that needs to change?
You need more staffing. You need more staffing. There's no way around it, man. And this is a struggle that it's like there's certain quiet parts that aren't being said out loud. Post-COVID, even if we don't want to act like we understand what it's like, at least some of the hassles of working in a prison, post-COVID, people aren't wanting to drive into work when remote is an option. So now you're trying to get people to not only want to go into work because there's really no virtual in this situation, but then go into a high security area to where you may or may not make it back outside. That's a hard mental sell, but they need staffing. You need staffing at least for the security side. And if you can't get the training to the security team to be better in a rehabilitative form, then you need more of the staffing that you have on site that's just more of an administrative role and can assist to that. And for both, they're lacking. And like I would argue, and that goes even for the way that I feel on certain portions of policing, is like, if you're going to train them to do the job that we want them to do, you would have to invest more resources, at least in the training piece of it or the education. You can't just be fresh out of high school, live no life experience, go straight into being a security guard and think that you can even fathom what they possibly went through to end up in that situation. You yourself are a kid. So I think it fully focuses on the staffing and needing to get that retention up. If you get them in the door, keeping them there, given that opportunity to almost treat them in the same way that you treat certain uniform services and having those guaranteed pensions, you pay a little bit more money because, just as Ev is saying, if you're going to say funding is needed to be humane, then create that funding to get to the staff so they feel like they want to go to work. And now that want to go to work will translate into wanting to help people. But if I'm only getting the bare minimum or even just slightly above the bare minimum, once you start to get promoted, and when you know what I'm saying, when you see them people in the eyes, them security guards, man, fuck them people. That's how they feel. And that's a lighter version of how the family feels. I think you have to start with the staffing. That's me.
Okay, Ev, what about you?
That's the same sentence, because Ray basically said everything I was saying. And guess that's why, if you notice, I started laughing, because what did he say with funding? What do you need to fund these people? Resources. Again, and I'm sorry, I hate that I said resources. I've thought about this already. I've thought about this shit. I've thought about, hey, because I'm not an advocate for the death penalty. I'm not. I'm one of them people. Life in prison should be enough. But again, that's just how I feel. I'm not with that. So I've thought about, hey, what are the better ways to do these things? Well, guess what? You need money. What runs this world? Money. Who's at the top of the food chain? People who do not want to give those that are poor money. So how can you fix it? Think about it. If prisons are already giving them the bare minimum and calling it more than enough, how you think they're going to give them something, an alternative that sounds like it'll do the prisoners better? Because they don't want to do the prisoners better. That's why I also said, I kept asking the likelihood, because guess what? No matter what you're thinking, we're talking about the facts of what's been going on since 1776. What's the likelihood of them niggas wanting to do it?
But if I follow you up with that, it's like, what was the likelihood of them niggas giving us rights at a certain point versus when we got them?
Financials. But see,
Right.
no. They needed us for money.
Right.
They needed us for money.
Right.
They're
So
getting cheap and free labor from these prisoners already.
But
right.
so even in
And
that
if
aspect,
the hold on. So if they're getting cheap labor from the prisoners, crime is on the low. Prison populations is going down, and the people that's outside of the prisons are getting unfit to work. Don't you think we're getting up on a financial situation here soon?
Yeah, but I also think, I mean, we've already seen it. They're going to find ways to put more people in prison at that rate. Think about this, and this is a real question. Do you think they're going to do everything they can and exhaust all options before you take money from the rich? They're going to exhaust all options. So guess what they're going to do? They're going to find ways to incriminate more of us. They will. That's just reality. That's what and I'm sorry, I'm thinking in a factualized reality of where we are in this place. The rich don't want to give up. And again, I like what you're saying of, aren't we going to be in a financial crisis where they're going to, yeah, we're going to be in a financial crisis, and we already don't have a middle class. They're going to make sure they keep taking from everybody who's under the millionaire wealth.
So my piece is, if we get into a state of kind of uncharted territory or unstable territory, right? And we are sitting here theorizing and plotting out ways that we can better the system. If the system is going towards a state of instability, and we may have a way to take over or influence this motherfucker on a rebound, then I don't rock with the whole, it's just not realistic. It's like, dog, nothing is realistic when you can't see it. Like, if you can't see it for yourself, then yeah, it's not going to be realistic. But granted, you have to use some imagination. But if you can use some imagination along with some pragmatism, and we see what's going on, and we can be like, oh, okay, here come a moment where we might be able to sneak something in. I don't come to me talking about realistic shit.
But
Like,
also,
okay,
here's another part. Whoa. Here's another part of that realistic shit we talking about. We talking about prison reform. How many people actually want the prisoners who've done violent shit to be reformed versus those who don't?
You have to look. You actually have to look.
Shit.
You actually
my question would be,
because at this point, I think you would really have to go look, because I think it's genuinely split.
okay, then cool. Let's narrow it down into a realistic thing and why it sounds unrealistic, right? Unrealistic specifically to the financial portion. If we're going to toss finances in there, you would have to make it realistic to the business that we know that is. If you're going to bring up what they were applying to us since 1776, then now you have to speak to the business portion of it.
It's ain't only to white people.
I know it's not only, but you
brought up 1776.
I'm just saying
that's why I went with the rights.
I'm saying since existence.
Okay.
I'm saying since existence.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You referenced the rights. That's why I was
looking at. We have
to
keep this America. That's what I was saying.
Because I took the rights thing to be more specific to us. 1776 was just colonizing everybody.
The rights thing is more. The rights thing is specific to the ideal of what's realistic. You can use that for us. You can use that for women. You can use that for Native folks. You can use that for whoever. At a certain point around this motherfucker, a lot of shit was unrealistic.
True.
But then it happened. So it's like, if it happened,
what did it take to happen is a specific thing. And certain things, and when I say what did it take to happen, and if we're aiming to do this peacefully, it's very important. If we're aiming to do this peacefully, what we're going to have to do in this movement, that's you. I said
I'm just saying. I didn't say that. I'm saying this. Anything is on the table if we're talking about change.
If there's people that are aiming to do it peacefully, that better. If there are people aiming to do it peacefully, then you would have to find some type of compromise to understand, at minimum, the rationale is this is a business. So all this additional morality, feelings, and whatever the case may be don't mean anything when you're in the advantageous portion of making that money. So you have to make it make business sense and connect the rationale before we get to the other piece. That's what I'm looking at. And so if you know that that's the case,
that's where I look at Texas.
What about it?
To say recidivism rate wise, I'm asking you, recidivism rate wise, with it being lower with the programming and all of that, on a profit on a profit scale, is that advantageous for y'all?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So then if I can show how this is advantageous, in a sense, over here, as I said yesterday, If I can show that it's advantageous in a sense over here, you may not be able to use all of these pieces. But if you can use this piece, and we can plug it into the system and show you on the number side, yeah, that would actually help you out and be profitable. What are we arguing for? Like
Because the
y'all
realism
wouldn't.
isn't always there.
Hold on,
The
hold on.
realism
I'm saying,
isn't.
I'm
No,
saying.
let me answer his
saying-
question. Let me answer his question. I can
I'm
answer that
saying
question.
you can
specifically
run
for
it
the fact-
through. I'm saying you can run it through the system and see if it's there. And if
No,
it's
and that's
there,
what-
what is the
we
argument
have the
in
general.
doing it?
We have the generals. That's the argument. What Texas has, it goes both ways. It's two sides of that coin. While the recidivism is lower, while you could use those examples, we also understand the economy of Texas compared to all the other states. So you're putting them back into an already successful economy just off of that. Not every other state has it. That's why we have so many people just moving here in general, migrating from wherever they're at, whether it was a good state with recidivism or bad, they are coming to Texas because business is thriving here. So I'm going back out there, going straight into an economy that the rest of the country is already trying to build off of. So if you don't have that, just to set up making that recidivism job or making like what are you going to do in Indiana? What's happening in
Yes,
Indiana?
exactly.
So what am I going to put a study or a rehabilitation program in place for you to do to be released back into nothingness in most of like those that Bible Belt, the Midwestern, whatever? What are we doing there?
If you got these places that need to be rebuilt and you have people that need to come out and need something to do, sounds like they have a job.
It sounds like that's no different than the current prison program. That sounds like a rehabilitation camp in a nice way, but it's still prison. You just shifted it to a prison city.
And what if you don't have the money to pay them? Because what you gonna pay them? Are you gonna also pay them an equitable wage to where they can afford to live and pay all their bills and do everything?
I mean,
You're gonna build
if we
housing?
if we talking about Indiana, it don't cost that much.
No. We're talking because you got to think about what you're saying. We talking about we got people who are still struggling citizens right now. So you gonna send a prisoner home with the equitable wage already lined up when you already have citizens who can.
So again, that's okay. So now let's spectrum. So the spectrum of the conversation, right? Because we're talking about the prison aspect, and you go back to say, what about the citizens, right? Yep. So it has to work in tandem. I'm not saying you're only doing the prison part. Obviously, there has to be something going on the outside as far as equitable wages, as far as better healthcare, as far as better education, all the shit that we talk about. We need all of the shit that the president is up there talking about. Fuck it, all of that stuff. So it's like if we're talking about,
we do got to talk about the Department of Education thing. We do need to talk about. We need to address that. But go. Sorry, my bad. To cut your knowledge, but it does need to be addressed at a later moment. We in the bed.
But again. So it's like with what I'm saying is if we on the outside addressing those aspects, I don't know if we can get to a place of like you were saying, universal basic income. I don't know if we can get there, but if we can get somewhere closer to it, if we can get somewhere closer to a state of universal health care to ease up some of the shit that's killing folks' pockets, honestly, because it's like if you getting money, you got a job and you making money, and what's killing you is your rent and your medical expenses. It's like, what are you even working for? You dig what I'm saying?
And so what you were saying, go ahead.
I'm just saying if we on the outside, in my view of what I'm saying, on the inside of prison wise, we working towards rehabilitation to reintegrate people into society better. And on the outside, that society are we working on has something shifted towards universal basic income, something shifted towards better healthcare, a better education system to where that society is better suited to be thriving by the time those folks get back anyway. So it's not a situation where it's like, how the fuck you gonna get this to them and you ain't giving it to me? No, you getting the shit too. You getting some shit too. So that's all I'm saying. But go ahead.
Okay. Oh, wait. I got a question to ask. Nico, good man, my brother. Let me ask you this. How the fuck you gonna do any of that?
How?
Yes, because now you just answered. You just said everything I've said. Everything you just said are resources. How are you gonna do any of that?
What do you mean? But talk. How am I going to do?
Because again, that's what I was saying this entire time. We are, like you said, that's what I was saying. You can't go help these people.
How are you going to shift towards? How are you going to shift towards universal base income?
How are you going to do any of that when you have to
get to you shift towards universal base income when the recession hits and folks can't get jobs because they already don't have them, and the mortgage shit crashes and folks ain't got no money. So we get back to a situation where it looks like the Great Depression again. And we start shifting towards the more social aspects of getting the country back on track, because that's what we did before. So I don't know if that's necessarily going to end up as universal basic income, but it can end up somewhere further towards it. Like it's that, unfortunately, it's probably going to take this shit and when I say this shit, I mean the society as we understand it, as it's currently structured, is gonna have to take a hit like a motherfucker. I'm not saying this finna just be some, oh yeah, grassroots. We finna just go ahead and, hey man, we gonna keep suggesting and marching and yeah, we just gonna get it done. No.
I don't think society has to take a hit. I think realistically, this is one of those conversations where your feelings are gonna have to take a hit.
Yeah.
Because even in what you're describing, for example, right, we do have certain situations to where it is advantageous to make those prisoners workers, and it doesn't always have to be a vocational study necessarily, right? California is a good example of that. They use prisoners to help fight the firefighters. There's a need, and they're contributing back to society, getting training. They even get money. From my understanding, I think it ranges somewhere between like $5 and $10 a day. So they're even making money as they do it, because not every state allows you to actually make money. Cali has it set up to where they're making money. But again, that's one of those outlier states where majority of the 50 does not have a need like that you can readily put those people out there. So if you don't have that, like, again, that's when we come back to the Midwest. If you're looking at somewhere, even say the surrounding areas of Pittsburgh, how often are those steel mills still being used? What's going to happen in West Virginia? Do we even know what most of that, like the general person, do they even know what that economy is like? Where the Iowas, the Montanas, all those types of things. Because now where it comes back to, and why I say you're going to have to take that hit in your feelings, is even if you present what you described on paper, if we go set up a place, more or less, I'm summarizing what you said, so correct me if I'm wrong, but we're more or less going to go set up a place in these places like the Midwest and transfer them over there. And then we're going to add security to make sure that they don't get away from these places, because you have to do that. We're going to build houses, or if not, we're going to put them in another prison that's already there. So somewhere along that lines, you start dancing into, it sounds like a mobile prison camp there. But you don't want it to be that way. You don't want it to sound in that manner. We're dancing to it.
What do you mean
on it?
What do you mean?
Okay, say for example, if you take people that are housed in the Georgia area, Georgia has a pretty decent economy, right? Overall. Okay, but you want them to be rehabilitated and have a situation where they contribute to society. So to get everybody on the same page, since that's what you're looking at in the totality of the country, some of these places need more help than the ones over here. Not every state needs that business from whatever the prisoners are going through that is going to add money to their economy. Texas and Cali might be more on the rare side. So if we don't need that prison money outside of just some of that free labor, make that business sense happen. So I'm looking at it as you can set up a contract, and each way it's going to sound like there's more detailed paperwork. And if you're just more for the movement, you're not willing to take that compromise. Because mentally it sounds crazy. You would still be giving that advantage to somebody else to try to hold over you, right? But if I'm going to put them out there in Indiana, Illinois, or where you're
saying take the people from Georgia and send them to Indiana?
Send them over there, or take those people there, because what do they have, and what you're trying to rebuild as a society over there? You just made a mobile prison camp.
And you're
then they get out. Because I'm looking at that as like, if they have nothing else, this is why I mentioned the economy. If some of these places have nothing else to do, when you get back outside, most of the people that are still there are already prisoners. So what are you rehabbing to send back out when all of my community is inmate mentality?
I'm saying
it still comes back to that.
What job you sending somebody to when there's no jobs in that area at all?
So that's what I was saying. If you have a situation where a city needs to be quote unquote rebuilt, right? Let's say the infrastructure in the city is fucked up or whatever. Like that's a lot of electrician jobs. That's a lot of plumbing jobs. That's a lot of brick mason jobs, etc. So you can have a prison population there, get trained on all of that. And when they come out and rebuilding the city up in that sense, once you have a city rebuilt up as far as the infrastructure, people more, because again, it's not like to say, ain't nobody moving to Detroit. Detroit was bumping at one point. Everybody left and the infrastructure failed. So you rebuild the infrastructure up. I don't see why people wouldn't go back. It's just People
you
start
know,
going,
prisoners
hold on,
is
hold on,
just-
hold on. It's gonna take time, but again, you have people coming out, rebuilding the city as it's getting rebuilt back up. You have more businesses coming through, more people coming through, etc. Now you have more jobs, and the more people that's still in the prison, whatever fuck, as they come back, now they have more jobs and more society to reintegrate back into. It's
Man,
a
this sounds like
full.
indentured servitude to a lesser degree.
It sure does. It
How?
does. It does. Because okay,
Indentured.
even it does. Yes.
It
Yes, it
does.
does. It sounds like indentured servitude.
Because think about this. That's why I'm asking all these questions. And that's what I'm saying. And I'm not saying you're not thinking about it, but it is everything you're saying, there's another misstep of what about, because think about this. You just said you're gonna send these people to do these electrician jobs and all this for cheaper labor to rebuild a city, to reduce the
I
infrastructure.
didn't say for cheaper labor.
But no, but guess what? It has to be cheaper labor because guess what? That's how they're going to get those jobs. Because you're going to skip the line on people who are already electricians who would want.
Why are you skipping the line on people that are
Because-
Because they would want more
because-
money. They would want a $70,000-$80,000 while you giving the prisoner less pay. Think about that.
Or put it this way.
Hold
on the
on,
other
hold
side,
on,
if-
wait.
That's what I'm talking about,
Wait,
research.
hold on,
Wait.
wait. If
Or am I
we're
wrong?
training people inside the prison
Mhm.
to be set up with a job by the time they come out, like that means they can join into the unions and do the whole situation. Why would I be underpaying them once they came out?
Because they're a felon.
No, or yes.
Prisoner.
No,
Yes.
not in
Yes, that's why.
not in my book. Again,
And you're
So,
good
so,
enough,
so that means a
okay,
prisoner
no,
gets an
because-
equal footing as a civilian who's done all the right things.
once you've paid your debt to society, bro, what are we talking
That's
about?
way different. That's way different because the way I interpreted what you said, you're having them do that while they're locked up in the course of them being rehabilitated. That's what we've been saying. The rehabilitation is happening while you are serving your time. We're not talking about the future.
That's
So what are we
training.
doing with them
That's
right now?
training. That's
But
training.
even as the training, you have to go out. Training includes hands-on action.
Okay.
So if I'm sending you out there, and this is why that's a problem. If I'm going to send you out there and get hands-on work,
Mhm.
and I'm going to pay you the full price of whatever it
You're in
was,
prison. If you're in prison, you're not getting paid the full amount. But
that's
but
what
again,
we just said is
that's-
indentured. Hold on.
That's
hold
not.
on.
But
This is
hold
what
on,
I'm saying.
hold on. Again, okay, hold on. Because okay. So again, if we know folks is in prison and they're gonna get paid on a go to prison, right? If we let's go back. Will we understand prison to be a form of indentured servitude in itself?
I would say probably worse. I would say that's the thing. That's why I
It's
say
either
it's
indentured
Okay.
servitude or
indentured
slavery. It's either
Okay, it's
indentured
either
servitude
that
slavery.
or is that
Right.
okay? Cool. So if we
Currently,
understand that,
right
so
now, yes.
right, so if we understand that, if we're looking at a sense of saying, okay, these folks can get, and we about to be an hour in on this, so we can go to the next topic. If we
Nah,
get
man,
to
we
No,
here.
but this is what we were saying. This is what it's going to take to get into this.
if we get into the point, folks is getting trained on the inside that was never being paid nothing crazy on the inside. You're getting on the job training while you're still on the inside. Why would you be getting paid the full amount if you're still legally in prison?
Mhm.
So once you pay that debt, once you finish your time, if we've got you set up with a situation for a job once you get out, once you've done your time, you've done your training, you've done your education, you've got your certification, why the fuck would I be paying you less money?
Because you got somebody that's not a felon who we will trust more than
Again,
once-
you've already
once
paid
you
your
got-
debt to society. You can we
that
can't
don't change people's
And-
feelings.
No, and you're
get out your
or not
fucking
even a-
feelings, nigga.
No,
not
get out
even
your
a-
feelings.
I'm not in my feelings. I'm not in my
Hold on.
feelings. You're in your
Nick,
feelings trying to
even
hold
in
folks
your
to a felony.
example, even in your example, if you finish your licenses and certifications, and what you are saying is there's a place that you need to clarify. Once you finish your license and certification, are you still locked up, or are you free now?
And again,
No, you would do your time, like whatever your time is.
No. Wait, like, say for example, you're sending them out to do electrician work to help with the infrastructure of X city, right? As
Okay.
you're having them do that training, and say they completed their program, say I sent you out to do work, or I got you trained. In between that time of getting trained and you now doing that work, in your scenario, is this person still locked up, or have they already been released? Because that's important to this conversation.
And okay, you do your training. So in my scenario and how I'm looking at it, you get your certifications and all of that shit on the back end of your sentence. So like as you're getting out, as you're about to get released, that's when you get all the credentials and all of that type of shit. Like
So
for
prison is
sure.
college now.
In a sense, bro.
No, and
No,
I
no,
don't even
I'm
want to say
I'm
it
not
because, like,
disagreeing, but I'm
okay,
just looking
in
at
a sense,
saying-
but like you as and then once you get to your release date, you have all your stuff and all of that. That's when you go to work. You're out of
that
prison.
can't be done.
Damn,
That
they
can't be done
graduated to a
because
job.
there's no, because there's certain jobs that you
It's
need
done in
to
your
get-
state. Why can't it be done?
No, it's not, because in those jobs that they are doing, they already have their certifications and licenses, because we also know OSHA standards exist. We know safety and health standards
And,
exist.
and,
So
and
you
here,
need
that's
that
what
license in order to
Okay,
do
cool.
that.
Okay, cool. So
And that's why I asked it. So like say
say
this.
So let's say they
But-
have their credential already and they're still inside and they're doing the on the job training, whatever. Again, once they finish their sentence and come back into society, they get released. Why would you be paying them less money?
You wouldn't be paying them. The conversation's done. You wouldn't be paying them. Once they are released, they are no longer a part of the rehabilitation program. You are no longer a prisoner.
Oh, no. I think there's a confusion right
That's
there.
why I'm asking. That's why I was asking. Like, what do you mean by that?
I think there's.
I'm saying once
the money comes
yeah,
from the job, not the prison.
yeah.
So, because when you're saying we wouldn't be paying them, I'm
I think
assuming
I
you're
think
saying
The
Ray
prison's
was
not
confused.
paying them.
I think Ray was
No. I'm
confused.
I'm saying okay, yeah. I'm saying that why would the job be paying them less? Not the
Because and
prison.
see, this is my point. And that's why. Hold on, let me make this clear. I'm not saying this as if I'm against prisoners. Everyone deserves a second chance. Everyone should be hired at jobs. But we already
everyone
know the
deserves a second
standard.
chance.
All right. But when we talk about in the
Everyone deserves a
workplace. We talk
second
about in
chance.
workplace. But we already
Okay.
know the standard that goes on in jobs. If you have a criminal history, if you are a felon, it is that much tougher for you to get a job. So
Yes.
you're now telling me these jobs were electrician trade jobs where they are making now upwards of $45, $50, $60, $70,000. You think these jobs who already have this bias and disposition are going to overlook a citizen who has a clean record that they can pay, who already wants a better job? They're going to go and say, fuck it, and hire that person.
I got a different question before you answer. I got a different question to what you're saying.
What I'm saying is, no, I don't. To answer your question,
So
straight,
thank
no,
you.
I don't.
They
But
wouldn't
here's
carry
what I'm saying. But here's what I'm saying. If we're getting
At
to
the
a
same
place, if we're getting to a place where we're not holding people accountable, especially if you're a felon and you did your time, I don't even understand. Like for me personally, nigga, the president is a felon.
It sounds utopic what you're asking for.
I hear you.
It wants everybody to have no
you.
judgment of
It's
people's
not
past.
it's not even about having no judgment of people's past. If somebody already did their time, what we talking
And
about?
if everybody still that know that you that went in and did your time, they still think you a murderer or committed this crime or whatever, and they don't want anything to do with you.
I understand.
You're ostracized now, so you can't do anything. So it's the same thing.
I understand all of that. That's person to person. I'm talking about in a corporate level sense. In a corporate level sense, in a corporate level sense, we can put parameters in place to make sure that this shit is supposed to happen, which is what we've done throughout time, especially for niggas like us. So what I'm saying is there's a way to work towards and get around all of this stuff besides the niggas just don't want to do it. Motherfuckers just don't want to do mad shit. You have to persuade, you have to enforce, sometimes you have to push. But I'm saying it's better to do any of those things than to sit here and do nothing because motherfuckers just don't want to. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. So I think Ev, you raised a good point. Nick, I do like your answer. I have a different question from a different angle. In these cities that we're talking about, because we did get a little bit further in the rabbit hole of talking about going to work in these other areas. But let's say it's not even taking someone else to go work there. You just have these certain areas that don't have a flowing economy to retain citizens to stay there. Gary example, and surrounding areas of Gary. That's a prime example, right? Okay. If I train you and release you, and the economy is already failing, let's say that you do happen to be successful and you have certain prisoners that are able to build it back up. Most of the people that left for a reason. So how would you try to convince, especially to bring the money back, convince people to move back to what is essentially prison town?
You have to reinvest in the infrastructure and excuse me, you have to reinvest in the infrastructure of the city.
No, the infrastructure is reinvested too, because in your rehab program that you're speaking of, they got out. Now you got enough people. So for some of the people that did stay, they got their businesses, whatever the case may be. You have now effectively, we'll say,
If you've
10,
reinvested
20 years, 10, 20 years in the future, you've now have enough people that have been released and they're out there and maybe they somewhat rebuilt it. But we know most of those people that live there came from this situation. You're trying to talk to the average citizen that has none of that capability or they don't have any crimes. They already look at it a particular way. How do you convince people to move back to those surrounding areas and make it proper?
If a city is 10, 20 years into rebuilding, if you take, or not necessarily rebuilding, but into rebuilding or building up, if you look at places like Charlotte, if you look at like some of your like Phoenix type shit, I'm thinking about recruiting shit. But if you're looking at some of these places that's building up and infrastructure building up, that's going to lead to jobs, because the more stuff that's built there, they're going to need people to fill those spaces. And once people come to fill those spaces, you have more jobs rolling through the section. So I don't necessarily think you would have to convince motherfuckers to move. I think once people start seeing shit bubbling, they go where shit is moving at. So if we 10, 20 years into a rebuild and there's progress in the rebuild, the population is going to follow suit. I don't know of any place that has been prosperous in a building of structure, society, or whatever the fuck that dwindled in population while it was building up. You would have to show me that.
I would think if I'm even starting to walk the direction that you're presenting, we'll put it here. If we're gonna check mark this conversation and then give that kind of feedback, and for all y'all listening and watching this, I want you to give your angles on it too when you post it. But for me, you would have to give me a game plan that's going to start with the Midwest specifically, because it's easier to put things together on like the coastal region, because they have certain resources, or even somewhere like a Texas, you have certain resources that make it easier for you, whether it be having shipping on the coast, or as big as Texas is, we got all types of agriculture, whatever the case may be, or you're in places that you can grow whatever. The Midwest is really eating up that portion in bulk of the recidivism rate that we're talking about for the most part, because there is nothing else to do. So even for the simple fact of, if you did get rehabilitated in a perfect world of what we have going on, or even the current world, in a realistic world, you happen to go in there and get your mind right, but you went outside to nothing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so
and that's where we get to the other part of what Ed's point is the outside piece of like.
Yeah, because I think a lot of this is Midwest based, bro. Or
it's gonna take y'all gonna have to clean them drugs or get that fent out the street.
And that's the part, because we live in states where it's like I'm looking at it as like, I live in a state, or there's certain states that we're clearly aware are carrying the American economy.
Yeah,
carrying.
Yeah, it's about 3-4 of them.
You feel? So if they're carrying these society, bro, you're gonna have to figure out something like, what can they now contribute back? The fact that you have certain states playing with the word secession just casual, I got it. Like, what are we doing?
You're gonna have to bring the jobs back, but not in the way that they're talking about it. It's just a conspiracy hat on for a second. There's a link between the outsourcing of jobs, the war on poverty, the war on crime, the crack epidemic, and the prison population.
Oh, I'm just
leave that there.
Nigga, ain't no conspiracy. Nigga, that's the truth.
Listen, bro, niggas act like, but no, I'm talking about the outsourcing of the jobs, bro. I'm talking about the outsourcing of the jobs. Niggas only talk about the FBI and the crack epidemic. You got to see the other play too. Yes, they fried the community, but they also took all the jobs out the bitch too. Like, that's not a Bill Clinton did that. Just so understand.
But that's why we're saying it's not a conspiracy. That's exactly, you're right. That's what I was already saying. They already moved the jobs to particular areas.
Yeah, so you got to bring it back.
Some of us just happen to live in them areas, you know what I'm saying?
You got to bring it back. But yeah, man. We had a long talk. I think this whole section is probably gonna be damn near 2 hours at this point.
Hey man, give us y'all's feedback. But this is a building conversation, bro. Give us y'all's feedback.
If you got through to this point, definitely leave a comment. Let us know if I'm bugging, if Ray bugging, if Ev bugging, if you got different ideas. That's what we're here to do. We're here to have these conversations, man. Sometimes it's gonna get heated. Sometimes we're gonna yell at each other, but it's still all love, man.
Big facts. Big facts.
What we got? What we got next, bro?
Y'all want to get in that relationship bag?
I'm with it.
Sure. Yeah. Let's
right.
lighten things up, shall we?
All right. So we kind of got a clip. The brother, Ed, remind me of the brother's name again.
On TikTok, his name is Justin Scott. Cypher.j. Yeah.
Shout out to Justin Scott, man. He gave us a clip, and it was something that was put into the chat, and we figured we talk about it because it plays into the idea of relationships. And pardon self, I forgot to say this. I'm so sorry, but we want to give love and support to the family of George Foreman. He unfortunately passed away yesterday.
Yeah.
You know, boxing legend. You done probably cooked with his grills. You done gotten that bag, whatever the case may be. So
I know I
rest
still
in
got my
peace,
George Foreman grill sitting around.
Sure do.
Somewhere.
What?
I'm looking for it.
For sure.
I'm looking for it right now, man.
Ones.
Rest in peace to George Foreman, man, for real. I ain't like you. I ain't like you for a long time because Muhammad Ali in the Ali movie. Like when I was a kid, I thought Will Smith was Muhammad Ali. You feel what I'm saying? For a certain amount of time. So like I was real salty on George Foreman for a minute until I like figured I was like, oh, this is a real okay. But yeah, salute to George Foreman, salute to your grills. Rest in peace. Love and light to your family, man, for sure.
Salute to his children, his 12 children. I hope all 5 George Foremans are doing well. May peace be upon all of them. Man, look. May his name live on forever.
Facts. Facts.
You are forever a legend. My dad tried to be you. All right. People don't know this. My other brother's name is Everett as well. He ain't got the same last name. But yeah, my dad tried to emulate him. So
what does that feel like if you know what does that feel like if you know you got someone with the same name that's like a sibling? What is that like, bro?
It's a you know what's crazy? It's an internal competition forever because you got to be who's the better one. But you see, I got the junior. I got the full name. So
how do you go about getting answered in the house?
Like, well, he goes by his middle name, so he goes by Darnell. He's always went by it. So
gotcha.
And he only goes by his real name in professional setting. So
I got you. Okay.
Like I'll be honest, when I was a child, because he's 11 years older than me, I didn't know that was his first name until he went because he left for the military. And mind you, he's 11 years older than me. So I didn't know that was his first name until I saw it on the call ID. And I was like, why say our name but his last name? And that's when my pop sat me down like, oh, well, son. It's like, oh, okay, nigga. Great.
All right. Your pops just run around saying Ev all day. Yo, Ev.
Yeah,
yo, Ev.
Right.
Not you.
All my
partners,
they make fun of me, bro. All my partners, shout out my best friend, bro. He called me, he say, whenever he mad at me, he be like, every 3 times. That's what he say. And I'll be like, cuz, what the fuck? Like, my best friend does that. And it's like, dog, like, come on, bro. So, yeah.
Okay, so on the quote, like, do you feel like you have to do better than this? Like, do you feel like you were the remake or were you the prototype? Like, how does that feel when you?
Well, I'm gonna be transparent. So we have different mothers.
You the sequel?
We have different mothers. So
that don't change nothing because
it really does.
So he was 11 years old. He had that child when he was 20. So it was how I want to put it.
He the prototype. That's what he's saying.
He and then me.
He the rework. You the rework in the better, new, improved version.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, I know that's for a fact. Yeah, that's a guaranteed fact. It's but I'll say I guess things with him and his mother didn't work out well. So hey, you'll get the first name, nigga. Take that. So I guess that's how it went. Shit, you get the first name, nigga. That's about it. So
I'm not gonna hold you. Hold on, real quick. I'm not gonna hold you. If my pops had a son after me that was a junior, I'm hot.
Hot. Yeah,
I'm hot.
That's what I said. It's always
the second. I'm the first one, and you ain't even.
Yeah,
we gotta fight, bro.
Yeah, that's what I was
I'm fighting you every day. I'm
for sure. That's
my little brother is getting wedgies forever.
Hey, I ain't gonna hold you, man. It's almost like It's like we both can't be here. One of us have to die. We can do
One
a
of
battle
us
royale
gotta,
as far as I'm
the world
concerned.
ain't big enough for the both of us, brother. It really ain't. It really ain't. I'm
It's
gonna
gonna be
let you know
that
right
scene from
now.
Batman. It's gonna be that
I
scene
get
from
it.
Batman when the Joker broke
I
the
get
pool
it,
stick
man.
and dropped it. Hey man, only
That's
one
the
of y'all
thing.
can
Like
survive.
I've thought about it from my big brother standpoint because there's an estranged
I'm
relationship
not
and stuff.
Spider-Man
I
memeing
get
with
it.
my
You know
name,
what I'm
bro.
saying? It's kind of like damn, like damn, your little brother got the last night. It make you feel a little way.
I'm not doing the Spider-Man meme with my brother in
And,
my name, bro. We
Hey,
not doing that.
and you're
We're
not
not
gonna
doing
make me
it.
feel like the try again, nigga. That's not happening.
Come on. Because that's all they show me. It's like, wait, so something was wrong with me, huh? You gonna junior him. You got it right with bruh. That's the legacy. That's the legacy. Oh, okay. Yeah, I see what's going on. Yeah, man.
I can't
Fuck
do
y'all.
nothing about that one.
Fuck y'all.
Because
I'm out.
what
It's
happened?
up.
And see, that's the bad part. I
It's
can't do
up.
shit about that.
Yeah, you can't, but it's
I'm
up
just
to me.
here.
I'm
No,
on your
because
ass.
it's tough too because I would have such a disdain for my brother that can't go away because now let me mess around. I'm gonna if I commit a crime, I'm gonna be like, nah, it's that it's that rate. I don't even know what you're talking about. That's not me.
That's dirty work.
See, and luckily
That's
that's
not
he
me.
can't do
dirty
that.
We
work.
already
That's
in
the thing.
competition, bro. That's not me. I don't know what
Dirty
you're
work.
talking about. That's the other Ray. Bro.
Mhm.
Oh man, but rest in peace, George Foreman, man,
For
and
sure.
peace, love, prayers to your family. So
For sure.
we gonna get into this relationship talk, and y'all let me know if y'all can hear the video appropriately.
All right.
We talked about the immediate clarifications on submission, but I want to offer a new model on submission or a perspective, right? It's a familiar one, but it's so unsatisfying, people usually lose it off you. So the way submission and power are talked about in Black relationships today is often shaped by struggle, survival, and control, right? But what if submission wasn't about giving up power, right? What it was about letting go of fear. So the traditional view of submission is that men feel submission means like control, right? If she respects me, she does what I say, right? That's typically where we're at right now with many men. Many women feel like submission means losing themselves. If I submit, I lose my voice, right? Both people feel like submission is about hierarchy. Who's leading, who's following, right? But what if submission isn't about power? It's about trust, right? What if submission isn't about control, but about allowing somebody to fully be themselves? What if leadership wasn't about dominance, right? But about responsibility and presence? What if relationship wasn't a competition, but a reflection of shared energy, right? Many Black relationships have been shaped by survival, but survival doesn't leave much room for trust, right? So many Black men were taught to lead by force because softness was seen as weakness. Women were taught to protect themselves because vulnerability was dangerous, right? Love became a power struggle because power felt safer than trust. But love cannot exist where fear is the foundation, right? What submission actually looks like in a healthy relationship. Submission is not losing yourself. It is.
So that's a summary of what the young brother said, man. And shout out to the guy for giving us a conversation piece. And hey, also, man, take a breath. Take a breath, my guy. Yeah, man.
brother.
That packed a mean 64 bars into the space.
Like, I think
All his
TikTok give
videos
you-
like 6 minutes too or some shit.
Yeah, it's like TikTok give you like the 10-minute joint. Like, bro be talking on the 1.25 himself.
Yeah,
like,
man, you know what I'm
just
saying? If you getting 10 minutes, it's okay, man. You got the clock.
breathe, brother. Breathe.
What's y'all's thoughts on that, man? Who want to go first?
Man, I think when I saw the video, I think I quote tweeted and I was like, I agree with every word because that's my exact sentiments. And and I think it's true though. I agree where it's fear. So I feel like with submission, it's a unionship. A lot of people like to say partnership. I say unionship. You want to use this move as one. That's you want to, and with submission and all that, you have to should know it's a give and take no matter what. It's always if you true leadership, submission, all that is knowing when to submit, when to take over, and that's a dual thing on both sides. Like both people should know that. It isn't like how he said the hierarchy. Now there are some in certain aspects, and to me that's how I feel where that's the give and take. The hierarchy is who is better at one thing than the other. It may lean, I think I said it yesterday, it may lean where, hey, out of 100 things, somebody might be better than 90 of those things. Cool. Let them work in those 90 of them things and let the other person work in that 10 to they 10. So, but I don't want to reiterate the exact same thing I said yesterday, but yes, I agree.
Is she listening, bro?
Shut up.
Did you listen? I just want to know, man. That sounds. That,
But
boy, that sounded-
that's really how I mean.
Yeah,
But I'm
it
keeping
does
it
kind of
buck.
sound like he was cycling through there. He was
is
like,
you
"What's
listening,
the
bro?
it's give and
Like,
take? It's a two-way street."
No, because I was trying to remember
yeah.
what I said because I don't want to reiterate the exact same
Yeah, but
thing.
There is
remember,
no
because
yesterday,
they haven't
brother.
heard
There
that.
is no
Yeah, they
yesterday.
haven't heard
I
that
haven't
part.
heard
That's-
yesterday.
Is she listening, bro?
It's all new.
Damn,
It's all new.
Oh, damn, I didn't realize that wasn't. It's not coming out at all. My bad.
You know what I'm saying? But even then,
I didn't realize it's not coming out at all.
I just want to know, man, because even if we're gonna reference this mythological yesterday, that doesn't sound like what I
it
heard
did because
yesterday.
I agree with him. It's a leadership is give and take.
Ray, do you disagree?
What do
my
you
brother?
got?
Like, what's going on here?
Hold on. I want to.
I want to hear what you got there.
I just want to highlight this scripted text that my brother Ev said. Man, this sounds like this is almost rehearsed for safety.
Man,
Like,
get the hell on.
you always ran it that way. That's what you're saying. That's what submission has always been. What brought you to that conclusion?
I feel like I'll say this. It's how it works, person to person, relationship. But for me, yeah. That's how I always ran it, honestly. Like and that's just me. I don't relate to certain things that other people do.
Oh, this guy
other
good.
bad things. I don't relate.
This guy media trained.
My shit goes. Things work in a certain way that's advantageous for both of us, no matter what. So
Oh, man,
I don't know.
I didn't know you were a public figure. Who helped you?
Hey man,
Share the wealth.
Hey,
Share the wealth, man.
I'm good
This
at
guy
what I do,
media
bro.
trained.
I'm good at what I do. Dog.
So is this your anarchy to like what I guess I'm trying to figure out.
What?
You said all the right things, and I know you weren't born doing all the right things. So,
man, you know what? Since we're gonna say that, I'm gonna just keep it a buck. Shout out my senior. Shout out my father. He taught me a lot of great things, and he taught me a model of what to follow. So everything that I do is just directly from what he did and what I saw him and my mother do. And so, and just living in the real world of this century, of this society versus them, of what the society brings. All right, well, let me maneuver certain things. But yeah, I've always felt this way. What he said, I've always felt
right
that way.
now. Society coming out right now saying you better have a $200 date to start, and then you better listen to everything else while providing for the rest of it. That's what part of society saying that.
And
we on the same social media.
And then you got to be able to stick to your guns and see. And this, oh God, this is the problem with people. Problem with people is you not sticking to what. So a lot of people are reaching out their bounds.
Okay, talk about it.
Everyone should be with someone who understands them and they can relate to. Like you just said, you just said social media saying people need $200 dates. If you can't afford $200 dates, you should be finding someone who doesn't want that. But people reach out to and that's just vice versa on anything.
Let's keep it clean, bro. Let's keep it clean. It's
just a reality.
Realistically, I'm gonna tell y'all this. This is straight from Ray. The piece that Ev is talking about so eloquently only exists if you actually talking realistically within your league. Stop shooting outside of your motherfucking range.
That's all I'm saying, though.
Stick within your range, and then everything else comes a little bit easier. A lot of this submission talk did also come up because I understand the old school way, right? I understand especially if we talking about us, how certain post-traumatic slave shit got passed down, how the family dynamic was, then you're combining patriarchy into it, all that good jazz, right? So if you're gonna say that we're in this different we're in this different generation where it's a lot different and we having that communication, well, I need this generation to understand. Don't just jump from these are the traumas that are being passed down and this what might have happened to me into that bag of also batting out of your league. You can't do both. It sounds like some self-accountability is being missed over here, bro. Right? Like let's keep it a bag. If you were within a bag and this is your range, if you are a layup package person, stick to layups. Don't be over here with these threes.
If you got Honda money, don't go
be
to
a Honda.
Porsche. Don't go to the Porsche dealership.
That submission is going to turn it to exactly what Kat said. You look like a phantom being a Chrysler 300 until a phantom pulls up.
Yeah. That's really what it be.
That's what it be,
man.
Start in your league. The submission is submission itself. Look, man, submission starts with you. Submission
Yeah.
starts with you. Submission
Yeah.
starts with you understanding that this is within your realm, and also understanding that this is the things that you are and are not willing to put up with, because you know your temperament. Everything sounds good on paper, but most of us that have been in these relationships have also had our boundaries tested and have also tested boundaries. So what that submission form is, if you trying to get to that piece of what the brother was talking about, and like trying to say submission is trust and submission is communication, like that sounds good. That sounds like all the successful keys to the relationship. Digging a little bit further is also knowing that you can't apply certain things that only exist to you to another person to be the end all be all of it. So it has to start with yourself. What did you go through, and what is it that is their responsibility, and vice versa, that they can actually manage but not heal for you? They
Oh,
can cater, they can treat, but they can't heal it for you. So now when we get into that piece, submission is now going back and forth, because I feel like in a standard relationship,
of
it
two
still
healed
comes
people.
in a standard relationship to heal people. I'm not here to heal. I'm here to help. I'm not here to
That
heal.
was what I was gonna say. That should honestly that should be step one before truly stepping into a
I
relationship.
Yeah,
mean,
I'm not here
but
to heal.
how do you know when you fully healed, man?
Now and
You
see
don't
that's
you don't
what I
know
would
when you
say.
fully
Not even
healed.
no one is fully ever, because life gonna always have its ebbs and flows. But I would think there should be I guess there should be some bare minimums of or barriers of entry into getting into something. I think.
Whatever the mental version is of rest, ice, physical thing, heat pad, like all that, whatever the mental version of that is, you need to go through those steps before you step back outside, because you still might have lingering pain. I understand that, but it shouldn't be my job to carry you off the court where you are already hurt, get you to the doctor, and then the doctor sees you, and then you expect me to then lift for you the rest of your life.
Nah, Ray, that's love, brother. That's called love.
Shit.
That's called
Then I
love.
want to stay in light.
I'm
That's the other part. That's the other part. Let's get there. The best way for me and what I understand submission to be, if you want in that copacetic relationship, submission is still remaining in like with that person. You know what it was like when you were dating, y'all first started liking each other. That was the golden era. Everything worked. You weren't even thinking too much about it. You were so
Honeymoon
busy trying to go
phase.
see her, or vice versa. You know what I'm saying? So in that like phase, you were saying yes to a lot of things that you usually wouldn't do. You know that. You know that you were saying yes to a whole bunch
Yeah.
of bullshit, being in that little lovey-dovey phase. I'm not saying don't love your person, but that submission, there was a lot of submission when y'all were still in like. Then you
was doing a
fell
lot of
hard in
shit
love.
that was inconvenience to you.
Yeah, because again, we gotta keep it.
y'all like
A
it
lot
in,
of
and
this
he was like,
submission.
"Yeah, I actually don't like going to
You feel
the
me?
joint. Actually, I'm
Hey,
gonna
no,
stay here and play 2K if you
let's
don't
be
mind."
real.
Oh
A
no,
lot
brother,
of
she
this,
minds. She
Yeah.
minds,
this
brother.
submission talk really comes from one or two spots. Either A, you never made it to the like phase to begin with, and you trying to determine what submission should look like before you even really get to know each other, if that's even you knowing yourself. Or B, you went all the way in love, and it went from like, yeah, I'm gonna give you man, fuck that. I ain't giving you shit. She got home, keep cooking the food, whatever the case may be. You in love. Once you in love, you start caring about shit. Yeah, she gonna be there. Grumpy around the apartment or the house or whatever. Nah, man, we know that it comes from one or two places. People still in like submission is naturally happening. You're
Yeah.
not even
And that's
there
the thing.
no
It's a
more, bro.
it's a natural thing.
Yeah,
Like
that's what I
it's
was
not
gonna
you
say.
don't force somebody into being it.
Yeah,
It's a
that's what I
Yeah,
was
that
gonna
natural
say.
sounds
thing.
good.
If you wanna like, if we gonna tackle the whole submission conversation, it does come from self. Like, in order to lead, because I looked up the definition real quick, and I immediately saw what folks found issue with. Right, to accept or yield to a superior force or the authority or will of another person. Right, on his face, that sounds like, "Hey, I ain't no bitch." Right, on his face,
On his face.
but in real time, again, if I'm in a unionship, as Ev calls it, and I'm trying to move in unison with this person that I'm with, I'm gonna have to bend to their will at some point, because everything can't go my way. And that's really all submitting is understanding in what situation is this gonna go your way? Is it gonna go their way? Is y'all gonna meet in the middle? And any which one of those ways, somebody's gonna have to submit to something. And if you just gonna stand on your 10 and fight all day, my brother, Get used to being by yourself.
Yeah.
Oh, don't just stop with the brothers. My
No,
sister.
my sister as well. My
Hey,
sister as
my
well.
sister.
Get used to being by
You-
yourself.
You're so busy doing some of these things you're saying in this submission conversation that you're dating the nigga being yourself, so no other nigga wants to be with your nigga personality. My sister.
Hey, Ray,
Certain
Ray, put a
times.
name on the bullet. Put a name on the bullet, brother. I'm saying, like, did she text you? What's going on? I mean, I know
Did
you.
she text
I
me?
know you cool. I know you cool. Like, I know your crib is cool and all of that. But I'm just saying, like, you got face
he got
lotion and
like,
camera. You was like,
Oh,
you
okay.
doing the stuff.
Hey,
What's going on, brother?
hey.
Put a name on the
I'm
bullet.
in
Did she
the
walk in the
middle of
room?
submission right now. I'm in the middle of submission right now. How you feel about that? Now what?
all right.
But no, yeah, for real. Bro. Shout out
That's part of it. Hey, because some of y'all are saying certain things in this submission talk, and it's also exposure. At least in the grand scheme of things, especially we're just more so dabbling in the social media world, because I think for the most part, a lot of us have seen sometimes a good example of what we feel like we would like to emulate, whether it be with your grandma, grandpa, brothers, your mom and dad, whatever the case may be. You try to get that. And I think another part, because Nico, you and I still haven't said what our definition of submission is. I don't want to get too lost in the sauce on it, but I also think another part is having that real conversation, because part of being able to take that self accountability is also being able to study certain game field. So you go and ask them those questions that you probably wouldn't be able to ask generally, right? Like having that conversation with mom and dad for real though. What happened?
Yeah.
Break it down. Give me something, and being able to take that, because some of us are trying to fly into a submission or a relationship conversation ecosystem when you haven't seen that other than your perspective. And a lot of times, if you may not be ready to listen to other people, if you can only listen to you as the end all be all trust and verification system, you can't even realize what you're doing is wrong, because there's other examples of how to get to that point outside of your particular way of getting to that point. You know, so I think it does start there, but I'll lean it over to you, Nico. Like, what is your version of submission? What are you looking at when you think about that?
I don't. It's funny because I don't even be viewing the shit in that way. You dig what I'm saying? So it's like for me, it's all teamwork. You feel me? Like it's all the same thing. It's not like, oh, do you submit to your woman? It's like, what the fuck do that mean? Like,
Unionship. You move as
yeah, you know
one.
what I'm saying? It's like, what do you mean? Like, if it's something going on that she's better at doing, like Ev said, like if it's grocery shopping, or for example, like with our crib, right? Like I'm the cleaner. Like I don't mind cleaning type shit. Like that's my shit. I would clean the fuck out some shit. Cool. So I handle the cleaning. Ain't really no problem for me type shit. It's like whatever. And I also don't view it as a like, oh, but because I do this, you have to do this. Like there's not this super like tit for tat type of situation. It's like, dog, if it's 70-40 and the 70 is on me this week, all right. If it's 60-40 next week and the 60 is on me next week, all right. If we get to a point where it's 60-40 and the 60 on you, all right. You know what I'm saying? But it's like whatever we need to do to get to that 100 and keep pushing forward is what we finna do. So like I don't really be seeing really what motherfuckers be talking about. Like it's kind of like, dog, if you're trying to push forward and you're trying to make progress in your relationship and with whatever goals y'all got, what the fuck is the problem?
I'm
Figure
gonna go.
out, like, if there's disagreement or some shit, cool, we can talk about that. But like submit, like, what do you mean? Your mic off.
Ray, your mic muted.
Yeah, your mic is muted.
And a lot of what y'all are saying though, you're talking about the day by day aspect, and I understand that, right? You're going by what situations could arise this particular day, and the overall. Do y'all feel like there is a not designated, but there's clearly a leader in a relationship? And while you may take turns being submissive and whatever, do you feel like there is a dedicated leader in a relationship?
The person who has the vision, the plan, and who has presented forth that. And the thing is, the submit is the quote unquote word is the buy-in. That's all it is buying into the plan.
Yeah, that's kind of why I be confused. Yeah, that's kind of why I be confused, because it's like yes, I do believe there's a designated leader, and I feel like that designated leader would be agreed upon between those two people. I don't necessarily think it's has to be one way all around. Like the
Right.
way I run shit is not the way you gotta run shit. So it's like in my crib, it's a certain way. In somebody else's crib, it's a certain way. But it's like whatever that way is, the people that's abiding by that is gonna have to submit to whatever that is gonna be. So it's like if it's my crib and we say, all right, bro, I'm the leader. All right, what does that look like? What does that mean? That mean I gotta handle this, and this. Okay, cool. What does that look like on your side? You gotta handle this, and this. The submission is being like, all right, bet.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mhm.
and within doing that, it's like there may be challenges. It may be times where it's like, okay, hey, my nigga, you supposed to carry the 70, but right now it's looking like 58. Okay, well, where am I lacking? What's going on? And we figure out like how to get it back up to where it's supposed to be. But the overall is like we'll figure out whatever the plan is gonna be, and whoever the leader is determined as we figure out what the plan is. And from there, the submission is following through with the plan. Look at
Y'all
it.
boys good. Y'all boys
Nah,
good.
bro, you
I
can't.
know,
Y'all boys
Like,
good, man. You saying,
hold on.
you saying all the right
I'm not
stuff. Y'all
taking,
boys
I'm not
good.
taking this from you because you married. You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
So you know, brother. You know
Yeah.
better than both of us what we talking about.
Uh-huh. And that's why being on the other side of this fence, and I get to look at y'all and be like, all that little magical powder puff stuff that y'all saying don't sound the same once you make a particular commitment. So I'm asking y'all, and I'm giving y'all game from this side. Say what you really mean. Who should be running the relationship? Do you feel like there is? Do you think a guy should be running a relationship if it's a guy with a woman? Do you feel that way, or do you feel like a woman should run it?
It depends on what's going on. And I'm
What
not.
do you
And
think?
I'm not copping out. I'm not copping out. What I'm saying is, okay, what are the parameters that determine what leadership in a relationship is for those people? Is that a monetary thing? Is that financial? Is that a nurture thing? Is it like it depends? So for some folks, it's gonna be bread. For some folks, it's gonna be I'm the man, so I need to lead shit. For some, like it really does depend, bro. Do I personally feel like all men should lead every relationship? No, all of these niggas ain't
Y'all
leaders.
boy. Okay, Ev, what about you? What you think?
Yeah, you tried to act like I ain't answering you, nigga. It was
Answer the
the,
question.
No, you didn't.
Ask the question.
No, you didn't.
it was
Because
the I gave you the answer.
Nick just gave me
Oh, wait,
his
okay, hold
third
on.
verse on the Touch It remix. Like we done heard the same song. He just keep remixing his verse on Touch It, bro.
Do I think a man?
So
Okay, do I think a man
question.
should lead a relationship if it's a man and a woman? Is that that's
Yes.
the question?
That was the question. Yes.
No, not in all cases. No.
And that's gonna be my answer too, honestly, bro. But see, but hold on. Actually, let me answer this right. And the reason I say this is because what determines it in the initial point is having a vision, having a plan, having a tangible thing for the future between two people. If you have that, and because guess what, that should be the point of a relationship anyway.
Let's speak specifically to men first, right? Because if we're gonna keep it clean, we got to start with us, right?
Okay.
And that's part of the reason why I'm also pushing back, because we talking about the we thing. No. Let's start with us. Let's address men. He addressed men in his statement as well, what the toxic portion of what men absorb and this, that, and the third. So addressing men specifically.
Yes,
what is y'all stance on that? What should men be doing?
They should be.
Should we be the leaders? Is that how you when we're talking?
That's
what you said.
Okay. Yes. Men should be.
Yeah.
And men should be, because men should have a vision, a plan for what a future of a household should be in a tangible way that is advantageous for both parties, not in a detrimental, negative. Hey, you're dying in this relationship. No, it should be a equitable thing for both parties, and as they bring in children and child rearing, that's why I said a unionship.
Really quick, Nick. Wait, hold on, really quick. Shout out to the word equitable and the fact that I had to go through a lecture for using that in a report at work. Shout out to the word equitable, bro.
I remember it and I brought it up for that.
Yeah. So for you and the people that have gotten to the point where your feelings need to do some more push-ups to handle words like equitable. Not something offensive. Words like equitable. I need your emotions and your feelings to go hit the gym, do a workout, and come back outside when you get your weight up. But continue, Nick.
I was gonna say, I would say yes in the reframing of the question. I would say yes. in the sense that a man should be in the lead of his own life, in the sense of like you should have a plan for what you want to do, how it's going to work, contingency plans if the first plan don't work, and etc. So if you're forward planning and forward thinking in that way, and that's how you carry yourself, that would carry over into a relationship, into a family, into a household. So
Mhm.
I would say yes, in the sense because you're supposed to be doing it already for yourself. So once you do
Mhm.
get into a relationship, it would just carry over. You would get into a relationship, understand the person that you with, figure out what the parameters are, and then carry on in the
No
same
funny
sense.
shit. And I appreciate both of y'all's answers. No funny shit. Does it make you less of a man to not be the leader? In y'all's opinion?
No, no, in a sense. It depends though, because it's like again, it's like the leadership shit can go in a lot of different ways. It's like you may not be the financial leader of your relationship, but you may be the emotional leader of your relationship. You feel what I'm saying? It's like it depends on how it goes. So like, are you saying the overall, like if you're not the person that's setting up the plans, if you just the one that's like kind of
Yeah.
on the back
Like
end,
what y'all
like
outline, like you're not the one that's giving the vision. Like say in this particular role,
it look a little
and I don't
crazy.
want to,
It
yeah,
look a little
I don't want
crazy.
to narrow it too much, but just say like it's the reverse. She's putting out the plans, you're just the worker. That's it. You're just the worker. You go.
It
She
depends.
gives
It
the
depends
instruction. You
if
go get it done.
it depends if however that most productive for that situation, then I can't say you are less of a man for playing a role that is
Okay.
conducive to the situation type shit. So like again, I think it's really case by case. Like if the role that you got to play is more of a worker role, just by however niggas grew up and that's just how the cards fell type shit, then I wouldn't say you less of a man because you're doing what you're supposed to do in this crib. You feel me? So it's a little nuance with that. Yeah.
I agree. I'd agree to the same extent of kind of back to Nico's point of you should want to do everything for self. So you're not less than just because guess what? Hey, if you met somebody with a better situation than you and they can do those things, that's not a detriment to you by any means. Now, if you don't have any plan or any resolve of what you wanted to do, and you just went into a relationship haphazardly, being drugged along, essentially, yeah, it comes as it looks a certain way. But I think, and that goes back to Nico's point of the idea of a man having a vision of just self, a sense of self. That's the thing, a sense of self worth or awareness to their own life, having a vision for their life. Because, like Nico said, if you're again a unionship, if you have to play a role to make it work, and your role in certain things are less than, no, it doesn't make you less than. Your actions in it make you less than.
Yeah, that part.
Okay.
Or your the actions in it or lack thereof.
Yeah.
Okay. So then, if that's the case, does what y'all said necessarily equate to the common buzzword or common keyword alpha, beta, sigma type of shit? And what y'all are saying, does that mean someone is assuming an alpha role, or even before we get there, do those terms even mean anything in this submission talk that you're talking about?
They do, but not in what the fuck social media talks about. Because
Okay.
they've flown those words into being like this weird shit now. And honestly, I don't even like the words being used in their role. But I get when you talk about men now, like everybody gonna say alpha man versus a beta, but we can, men got to keep it clean. You can differentiate those because
Okay.
let's say, because like we just said, that your action in it makes you less than. Your actions in it in a role where if you're doing less than in your situationship, right? If you're doing less, if you are less than and you're okay with it and you don't want to be better, you don't want to progress, you're okay being drug along. Hey, you know what? I'm here for the ride, and you're consistent with that throughout your life. Yes, that's when those words will come into effect. Because because in that sense, you're not even leading your own life.
Okay.
You're just here, just going along with the flow at any station. any motion. You just hear. But if you are someone who say, "Hey, I got a plan for what I want," then yeah, that's where. Then that's when I would say that's when them words would work. But how social media got the shit now? No, that's why I hate those words.
See, because I kind of feel like even if you're actually being honest with yourself, I don't think either of those words even apply.
And that's the thing,
Because
There you go.
you
There
know what I'm saying? Like if you're moving around and you're doing what it is that makes you happy, that idea of being alpha or beta in its truest definition, that don't even apply, bro. You just doing
I'm
you.
doing what I do.
And then at that point, once you're getting it, like sometimes you could try to assign those words to a situation, but I think that's more situationally based in the occurrence than assigning it to a person. Because
Yeah.
even if you're trying to identify as an alpha or beta, you still submitting to something. So
Yeah.
are you a true alpha if you say, like, whether it be your job, whether like the boss at the job, your mom and dad, whatever, you're still submitting to something. So
Mhm.
to try to run that personality and pass it on to someone else, then that would just mean you're an alpha in the moment.
And that's
not an alpha
actually
overall.
real quick. That's actually a good point that you bring up for the folks that have like this resentment or this resistance to like submitting or whatever this is. It's like there's a version of you in your day every day that submits to something,
Yep.
whether that be your job, whether that be your woman, whether that be your kids, whether that be the game, whether that be smoking weed, whether that be whatever it is that you got going on, that you get into every single day. You wake up and for whatever ambitions, whatever real, I actually want to do this, you will take a second, put that shit on the shelf and go handle whatever it is that you actually have to do. You dig what I'm saying? So like if you look at it from that angle, it really shouldn't even be this like much of a conversation. Like you submit to your job the same, like you submit to your job for the understanding of employment, rent, bills, etc. So it's like it's the same situation in a friendship. It's the same situation with a sport. It's like, dog, if I want to be better at this, if I want to go move forward in this, there's going to be certain things I'm going to just have to do. And you're gonna have to figure out what those things are, do them, and figure out and see what it is on the back end. But like the fight to just let it to go into the gym, bro, you're gonna be standing outside the gym talking about I could have been the best nigga on the court forever. Go get on the court, man. Go get on that court.
Because you're right, in some way, shape, or form, you are submitting. And that's why I highlighted that, because especially isolating us as men first, that submission piece and what is going to lead into my question. What he was saying was some of these values that were passed down in that submission, especially with you have to be tougher, you have to hold it within self, right? Being a breadwinner and whatever the case may be. Part of that toxicity that's easy to highlight is you never submitted to your feelings and it killed you. Hell, man. And that's the crazy part that bothers me too when it comes to the submission piece, because if you're not being honest with yourself, it's like, man, that idea that you're not supposed to cry, or even to this day, for some of our generation or our age group, running around like, I don't do this. This is what the man's supposed to be. Nigga, stop lying. If you don't cry out loud, you cry in the car. I know that you cried somewhere. Stop trying to act like you don't have no tears. You just don't want to admit it. And that in itself is instead of submitting into that particular thing, when he's saying be honest with yourself, have that truth with yourself, that's a real thing, bro. You are crying somewhere, and if not, it's gonna bottle up and it's gonna cook you.
You either gonna submit to your feelings in real time, or you gonna submit to health scares and health problems, or early self-deletion at a later date.
So for men, where I look at it and then trying to, because what it leads into my question is, if y'all are saying that a man should lead the relationship, and if we're trying to change what the old model was, is it totally bad? Or can we pull things like, because when y'all are saying men should be the leaders, for example, the usual ones was breadwinner, right? There, you were supposed to not show the emotions, but you're also supposed to be the foundation, emotionally the backbone of the household, like all those broad terms. So what would be the tangibles if you're saying men should still be the leader? What does that look like? And before we get there, before y'all answer your question, I want to give y'all a chance to think about it. Let me get this off really quick. But while you sit here and you listen and you thinking of that answer, I want to go ahead and add to the sentiment that I just said of what we are trying to do. And I need y'all to listen. What we are trying to do is start with the communication piece amongst us men. So if you do not feel like you have some type of control, it's okay to reach out to somebody. And if it is even just another brother or another man, so they can at least understand the premise of where you probably coming from, because most of us do. There's not many situations that you put out there that we don't know. She pissed you off, dog. And we know. You can say it. You can say it. Control. I'm not saying cry everywhere, but at the same time, be around other brothers that can at least get you there, because sometimes that gets you right before you get into that relationship with said female. Instead of her trying to check you, or instead of her trying to do all that work, or you taxing her out and you possibly crashing out yourself, bro. Start that communication piece, please, with self, and then get somebody. That communication or that community is going to have to start with verbalizing things. Make it equitable.
I would say,
What's
I would say first off, it
and
starts.
I know you watch too.
It starts.
Sorry,
with,
go ahead.
All right, yeah. Keep it clean. Keep it clean. I would say it starts first by kind of having a conversation and redefining what we understand masculinity to be versus what we've accepted it to be. Right, you're gonna have to broaden that spectrum up of what the expression of masculinity can look like. Sidebar, real quick, y'all. We ain't got to tap into this. Just real quick, for all of you people out there talking about there's a war on masculinity. Okay, just listen to me very carefully and closely. If you are one of the people that are trying to keep masculinity within this window of expression, you are waging the war. And I'm off my soapbox. Moving forward, it would start with having to redefine what masculinity looks like as an expression. No.
You don't have to talk about it now.
Yeah, we'll get into it. We'll talk about it.
Panda.
We'll talk about it later because that's cap. But
Designer only had 2 songs, Nick. But go on.
Yeah, he had way more actually. Anyway, if I'm looking at it, we have to redefine what it is on the spectrum of understanding what that expression is. And within understanding what that expression is, that leadership would look, it would look case by case, because I don't think it would necessarily have to be a breadwinner.
Okay.
I don't, you know what I'm saying? I do think it would have to be understanding being the emotional backbone of the crib and laying that foundation, but that's going to come with self-awareness and self-understanding. And within that would come with broadening the spectrum of what that masculinity that you can exhibit is, because that's where we get into when you can cry and how you express yourself versus yelling versus not yelling, talking, asking questions, etc. So I think it starts there. I don't have a formulated idea of what exactly it's going to look like, because it's going to range depending on what's going on and who the person is with. But I think it definitely starts with broadening the spectrum of what we understand masculinity to be and how it can be expressed before we can even start to look at how this is going to be molded inside of the crib and what it's going to look like.
Okay.
Yeah, and I hate this nigga went first because I agree, and he said everything I was gonna fucking say. But because that's honestly what my whole thing is really it's really what patriarchy was, is that niggas like the emotional side completely. It was I work and
I'm in the back. I'm at the job. I brought the money, the food on the table. I'm in the back.
Yeah.
And shut up and bring me some food.
And that's the part
it wasn't working.
That's the part that's not working. And again, especially because I think we have to speak for Western society too, because we have to speak about the changes and factors of life of, as everybody loves to say, back in the 70s, 80s, 90s, your daddy was working in the factory making $40,000 a year, but he was feeding the family and had a second family down the street probably. But
and can eat off that. And you can take care of both of them.
Guess what though? You barely can afford one person by yourself now. So
you can't afford you, brother.
Exactly. So and that's why I would say now it's more. That's why I agree with you when I say it's not a financial thing now. It's more because your partner now can make just as much or not more than you, which can now make it where it's not a conversation. It's a moot point. So now it has to be, you now have to bring the emotional side of things, of being able to lead in, hey, communication, transparency, being able to hold tough conversation, being able to be a safe space. Guess what? I don't think back in the day the patriarchy didn't teach people to be safe spaces.
Your granddaddy wasn't no safe space for your grandma.
Men didn't know back in the day how to fucking be a safe space. Niggas was yell, work, feed me.
A safe what? Ain't nothing safe out here.
So,
it ain't safe. It ain't safe. It ain't safe. It ain't safe. What do you like? Yeah,
I think that's the new difference of what masculinity is now, where you have to. That's the part which I think that's something that we're all doing in our communities with our friends. Of even when they're not doing right, but you gotta have to have that communication piece to yourself, nigga. If you don't know it, you better learn it. You better start read some books, do some educational tactics to learn these things, because we have to advance to be better, because things aren't what they were 30, 40, 50 years ago. It's just not. So you can't go into it imagining that you doing less now yields the same fucking results.
And I think more to the point, I think it's more so you gotta get into the kind of philosophical aspect of it, or the more non-tangible aspect of it, because when you do put all of the weight on this tangible thing, such as being a breadwinner, when all of your validity, meaning, matter, all of that is tied to this, once that slips, where do you go?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Now
it's
you define everything by just that.
Exactly. So like,
your sense of self-worth is
it's easy for you to become undefined in that moment. You feel what I'm saying? And how well do men do undefined? Not very. Not very. You feel what I'm saying? So I think when you gotta lock in and get the understanding, sense of self, what you like, what you gonna put up with, what you not, all of those things, how you communicate, what your triggers are, what they aren't, how you work through them, how do you react when they're triggered, like all of that's gonna be more beneficial to the understanding and the workflow of the crib more than your bank account numbers.
Right.
You feel what I'm saying? So that's kind of where I lean with all of that. It's like do the work for self and the rest of it you can figure out as it goes. But you got to figure that part out first, because if shit get to going left and you just unregulated or dysregulated, everything is gonna be thrown off. Everything. And trust me, you ain't gonna want to hear that from Bitch Shorty. And you ain't gonna want to hear that. Because shit hit the fan and hey.
Because I'm gonna use that to segue into what I'm saying, like or that next piece of it. Sorry, because I do think I do think there's a certain piece where there is enough of a commonality that we can say exists when you're a man looking at the female counterpart. A commonality for all of them. It doesn't matter how hyper independent they may be to the fully most submissive type person. They want to feel protected. Mm-hmm. They want to feel secure, and they do want to a certain extent to be coddled or led to a particular way. That's not taking away their ability to be themselves, but it's still one of those, that's what they all want. They're saying it in different versions. You've seen a hyper independent man or woman saying that they want these things, but the underlying tone is still you want that security to make sure you feel good. And if you have that understanding, just within that, knowing that you're going to have to do a little bit extra also comes along with that leadership. Mm-hmm. So now as we transition into me asking y'all, what does that look like, and what's your version of submission for them? I might go ahead and answer that part of it first and say, hey, preferred submission would be, for starters, you not taking the things I invested into you and weaponizing it against me.
For sure.
So if you're wanting that type of leadership and that security, or you're wanting certain things to come from a man, and you're saying at the same time to open up and give you part of that bag, if we're already addressing ourselves, part of the reason we have to have that fail safe, if we're looking at the negative connotation of having that talk with brothers, is because we can't tell you. We can't tell you, because depending on what you might do, you're going to flip that back over onto us and use it as a weapon. That's tough. My first form of submission would be, don't weaponize your man's feelings, please. But I'll ask y'all, brother.
Mine is shit, nigga. Mine is just communication. That's the first one.
The reason why I say that, the reason why I say that is because most of the stuff I'm also assuming the communication is like when you're getting there, you from the moment that you meet her, we also understand that you are trying to meet a bar. So you're doing everything and presenting yourself for who you are anyways. It's like a job interview when you first start courting each other, you first start dating. So you're having to sell yourself. And in part of selling yourself, you might also have to expose particular things just to get that pass for her to continue to want to see you, right? So if you're having to put yourself out there like that, it doesn't matter if it's the best connotation all the way down to the worst one that you might discover later. Once I got the job and I told you I was going to work holidays, but there's a reason why I'm calling in sick today for whatever the particular reason, from the best case scenario to the worst, do not flip that and weaponize him. We've been having to be our best from the jump. Do not flip that and weaponize it against him just because you feel a particular way. That's why that's first for me. That's why it's first. We've been doing 100% maximum effort just to get them to like us to begin with. So don't take that type of stuff. We're already putting ourselves out on Front Street.
I think I understand what you're saying. I think there's middle ground to the point of, you know, putting that first face on. We'll say that, like putting your first face on in the relationship, and as the relationship goes further, that face is not recognizable, right? I think that, like, I'm not discounting your aspect to say like that this doesn't happen. I think that's a real thing, and it should be addressed. And like, if anybody that's, you know, showing you something about themselves that is sacred or personal or traumatic or whatever it might be, somebody that's sharing that moment with you or sharing that information with you, I don't think that should ever be used against that person.
Right. Because there's a difference between constructive criticism and weaponizing.
Yeah, for sure. And that's kind of the part that I want to get to. Like, at some points, it's not always a weaponization of like something you said. It might be a critique that's not being said the correct way. You feel what I'm saying? So I'm not negating your point or rebutting it at all. I'm just saying, like, also too, there's this aspect as well. You feel me?
Yeah, because in my point, I'm specifying weaponizing because I'm using it more as like you're doing this intentionally.
Okay, yeah. Well,
because if even as we're getting to know each other, I would hope that in the first couple of dates, like, you ain't intentionally shooting at a nigga that you wanted to, you know what I'm saying? I would hope, you know, like, so with the general conversation of like, if we are getting out there and we're going back and forth on dates and whatever the case, don't intentionally use to hurt. If you present something, say, hey, I might feel this way, or this is how it came across to me, or like, I noticed you kind of do that. That's a lot different than trying to use it as a weapon. You know, and I'm looking at the intent of it.
For sure. Yeah.
You got mad, he said something you didn't like that day, and you fire off, or like, yeah, that's why your mama never hugged you. Like, whoa.
Okay, yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, you know I would say my main thing along with Ev really would be that communication piece. Like, it
prevents always, a lot.
Yeah, it's always gonna be the best route. Like, if you confused, ask. If you you know what I mean, if you perturbed, ask. Maybe ask what's going on. Like, hey, this made me feel like this. Why did this go this way? Why did you choose to make that decision? But like, always starting off with that bridge of like, hey, I'm gonna let you know where I'm at, and I'm trying to understand where you at. And that's where we start from, rather than it be, nigga, I'm over here and they need to be fixed. You feel me? Because that doesn't give much space for like where we start from and where we get to. It's like, you know what I mean? I would always just push for communication.
And I would say to add to the communication part, because something I ain't gonna lie, personally, I had to understand too, is that, like how you said, ask. Sometimes it's for us, tell.
Yeah.
Like, I can say, because for us, because you got to think,
me personally, for myself, like, hey, bro,
it's like we so in our brain of doing. And it's like, oh well, shit, nigga, I'm making the world go around. I'm moving mountains. Ain't shit to say, but at the same time, you don't, because well, hey, I would like to know XYZ. So maybe I shouldn't, because guess what? When you get into that same mode, resentment might build up of, nigga, I didn't have to ask 30 times in a motherfucking row.
Yeah.
What are we
And,
doing
some,
here?
and sometimes it does be as simple as like, hey, yo, it's a lot going on right now. I don't have a lot to say. I'm caught up with work. I'm caught up with this. I'm caught up with that. But also, brother, say it.
Yep.
Say that,
let's
and it
advance
has to
that.
be accepted as well.
Yeah.
On the
Let's
other
advance
side.
that a little further. Man. This is coming from personal experience because, like I highlighted, I'm married, right? So this is coming from personal experience and game that's also been studied. Talking is the starter. Lead and beloved submit by listening. Lead and submit by listening. Not every single time you need to be saying something, my brothers. Once you get to the talking point and y'all have talked about what's going on, now it's those little fine-tuning things, and not everything has to be said. And sometimes what you're saying doesn't add value. Not just hearing, but actually listening to the words that were said, and then that way you can go to that function. When you know them, especially like, for example, those little moments of when they go, yeah, as us in our man brain, she said she wanted that one commercial, she wanted wings and something else, right? I want you went and did exactly what she said. But if you've been listening to her, you know that's not like, get to that point of you understand her, listen. Then at the same time, on the flip side, my women, when I'm still saying that form of submission is listening as well. If we know commonality for most men, I might say it. We're working on saying it once. Some people are lucky enough to say it once, or some men are lucky enough to be in that point to say it once, but they probably won't say it twice. And if I presented something to you and you just clearly missed it, me trying to read those situations because you only heard me and didn't listen, that's tough. That's tough once you're getting deeper into the relationships and tenure is coming along, because now that little fraction of time is like, I don't know how else, and we're still working on that build of trying to continue those things and then not feel like we're wasting our time, So I think that me answering that question, like, what does that look like over there? What do y'all look like? I went first, but what do y'all look like, or what do you see when they're submitting? What's the expectation? What can you verbalize? What does submission look like to you? From her. Yeah.
More kind of what you were saying, more listening and accepting, understanding.
I should let y'all just go first.
Because honestly, that's gonna be mine.
That's
gonna be mine.
Because that's really it. That really
is.
First, man. That really is all it is. It's like on both sides, it really is the same thing for real. Like, you have to listen with the intent to understand and accept what was said to you. You may not agree with everything that was said to you, but you go look forward to find compromise rather than combat. You feel me? Like, that's kind of what it looks like. Like, it's times where I might say something, like saying how I feel about something, she'll be like, I don't really understand. Like, what do you mean? Like, it may not make sense to her for real. And rather than in that moment, I could be like, nigga, you gonna tell me my feelings don't make sense? Or you'd be like, well, let me explain it to you like this. And you just go forward and keep pressing to look forward for compromise or understanding. Because compromise can have a negative connotation to it, but more so just understanding. So it would look like that. Like, when I'm saying something, you listening. If you have a retort, or if you have a rebuttal, or you disagree, we'll voice it. It'll stay respectful. You feel me? But we gonna have the conversation. And even in moments where we get to having the conversation and we not being productive anymore, we leave it. That's a part of it too. Like, hey, right now, I'm actually not in this space. I can't hear this right now. And give you space to get yourself back together. You give me space to get myself back together. Kind of like how we did with the podcast. You know what I mean? Hey, man, things got a little hectic there.
I was all right. I don't know what he talking about. I was all right.
You was fine because you was cool. But me, Ev, and Rose, I ain't never yelled at Ev like that.
I don't know what they're talking about, bro. I was all right.
But yeah, but just that piece of like understanding, like, hey man, we for having the forethought to know, like, this is not my enemy. You know what I'm saying? I'm not looking at you like we on different teams. We on the same fucking team trying to figure out how to win the game. So we got to keep that in mind. And from there, it's like, it shouldn't be too much headbutting, because it's like we all understand there's a common goal. You know what I mean? At that
Okay.
point, it's like nigga, just run them damn suicides, bro. Stop bitching.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So then, all right, let me ask you this. Because I think this is also a part that a lot of people dance around. So if we keeping it clean, let's try to present a realistic situation.
Hold on, real quick, right before you say that, I want to add
Uh-huh.
because I don't think I really gave an answer. I want to say take everything with positivity, and I say that for both sides too. When you receive what you're hearing, take it with positivity. Take it with the intent. This person is saying this person isn't saying this to hurt me. This person is saying this to help me and help us. That would be mine. That's what. So with as we all said, listening. I would say with that, it would be listening with the intention and understanding and receiving it effectively of what they're saying is for positive intent, not to hinder. So continue. That's all.
Okay. I was trying to speak for our brother Rose, but it's like I don't know if I have that bag to go all the way off. That deep.
I would say that'll close us out there. Yeah.
We're gonna let Rose speak for herself.
I was trying to get a Space Jam reach. I was gonna take accountability, but I didn't have anything for it. All right, but let me kind of get there anyways. Let's keep it clean and ask the real question. Submission just happened to slow down recently. Started to switch up. Started to be a little bit of lack of submission altogether. What's y'all's play to get it back in order?
We're gonna address the lack of submission that's taking place first.
How's that sound?
Hey,
like, come here, sit down. That's you.
No. We might be on some dinner type shit. We might be on some, or I might, because I'm not the type to hit you with the like, while you at work, hey, yo, I need to talk to you type shit, and have you sitting on that all day until you get back to the crib.
Yeah.
So yeah, I ain't that type. I ain't gonna play. So get to the crib, like you might get in, just be like, hey, dinner time. We gonna sit down. We gonna chop it up, and when it's time to sit down for dinner time, I'd be like, hey, so last couple weeks, you know, XYZ situations, I have them listed out. When I was trying to do this, it went this way. When I was trying to do this, it went this way. When we was trying to do this, it went that way. I know we had this understanding about whatever we agreed to. So I'm just trying to understand why is it going this way? I'm gonna start with a question.
I just want y'all to know, dating Nick comes with submissiveness of having to listen to his favorite rapper, Cassidy. I just want y'all to know that. But go on, Ev. Go on, Ev. Don't worry about
stop it. This cap.
See, that's the first one. That's the first one. Let me hold on.
He used to write for him.
Allegedly, he used to write for him.
He still do sometimes. Let me let the audience know. Ray has made it up in his mind that I'm a Cassidy fan for some reason. I don't know where that came from. Don't let me finish. Let me land. I don't know where that came from. I don't know why that happened. In 2019, Cassidy was in Atlanta doing a battle against Goods, and I booed him every round, and I walked out on his third. I'm just let you know, bars was not back. Your bars was ass.
So the full part of that story was allegedly, and in these most recent times, Nick used to ghostwrite for Cassidy. Now it's the battle he didn't use his bars. That's why he felt that way. Because it was like, that's his favorite rapper, bro.
I don't know that
favorite rapper.
I don't know Cassidy.
That's his favorite rapper, man.
I don't know Cassidy.
Nick grew up listening to Cassidy, so if you go to dinner with him, Cassidy playing in the background. I just want y'all to know that. It's the science.
I have no idea.
Go ahead. It's all right.
I would say it would be a conversation over dinner or something, or sit down. Actually, you know what? Let me think.
Drinking a two-step with Nick?
Y'all in my bag.
Let me think.
Hold on, man.
Let's see. hey, man. Hold on, man. Check it out.
Hold on. He said the drinking the two-step. Yo, leave me alone, man. Turn your camera off. Turn your camera off. What are you talking about?
And then, so honestly, one reality too is that we have to be honest about not letting things fester.
Okay.
So, and that's what I would say is one of those things. The moment you realize something is, hey, because I would love this. I would say I use a personal experience. I put the dishes up in the morning because I wake up at 4 in the morning before I leave. And there was a situation where because I stopped for a while because it was like, hey, don't realize it, but me being up at 4:30 in the morning, I'm taking my time too, and I'm still wiping sleep on my eyes. Put the dishes up, they add like 5-10 minutes to what I'm doing to get ready to leave. So for me, it's like, well, if I just don't do that, I gain 5-10 minutes of highway traffic back. Well, after about a week of not doing it, it was like, hey, you just put the dishes up.
Hey, yo, while I'm waking up to a sink full of dishes, yo.
No,
why
I'm waking up, I got to because and it's a real thing where she used to.
Hold on. She she hit you with you open the door. She said, "Yo, my man, I done woke up the dishes about five of the
it was
last
like, hey, yo,
days.
son, like, hey, man,
What's happening?"
It's like, okay.
You better sit in traffic. I don't know what other way to tell you. You in traffic.
Guess what? Guess what? I set my alarm earlier. I set my alarm a little like 10 minutes earlier.
Because I was already caught.
And that is submission. My brothers. That right there, that understanding, that leadership, that picking your battles, that picking your fights, that right there is submission. That man said, you know what, I could argue about this 5 to 10 minutes, or I could just wake up 5 to 10 minutes earlier. Hey,
not
man.
every battle helps.
See, and I'm one of them people, I'm gonna keep it above with you. I'm one of them people where even though I'm still gonna wake up 10 minutes earlier, you're gonna sit there and listen to me tell you I stopped doing this shit because I'm now spending an extra 5, 10, 15 minutes having it. I already made the compromise on how to fix it, but you're gonna sit here and listen to this is why the fuck I ain't doing this shit, dog.
Hey, you know how much this, this traffic, this bumper to bumper shit, man, going on. But my alarm is set. I'm gonna get up early tomorrow.
That's me for real. Like, hey, my alarm is not set early so I can make sure I still do it.
But just feel me.
You gonna sit here and listen to why I'm upset now that I have to do.
Because overall, you weren't thanking me before. You weren't thanking me before.
Let's talk about that. And that's honestly now the thing.
Talk about that.
See, Ray finna get in the bag.
Finna get the real one.
Yeah, you weren't thanking me before, right? Right.
He said, how many times I put the dishes up? How many times you said thank you? How many times?
The first one free.
See, you close to Rose bag. You close to Rose bag. You just keep going. You just keep going. You're gonna be right in Rose bag.
Select which one. I can get in that bag. Select which one. Pick one out, bro. The first one free, motherfucker. The first one free.
We about 4 hours deep. We about 4 hours deep, man. I appreciate you.
Okay, brothers. Wait, hold on. I got one last question. One last question on this very topic.
Pulling up.
I got one last topic. Or on this topic. What you get into with this? She needs you to submit. What she need to do to put you in a submission, just temporarily. We're not talking about the whole relationship. What she need to do to put you in a submission. What you talking about? What you need to have a great day. Keep it clean, my people.
Yeah, I was gonna say
ending with a pander. I love it.
Yeah, man. Panda breaks is in effect. You know what I'm saying? It's not safe for work. It's not safe for, you know what I'm saying? Oh man, listen. This will probably be our longest podcast, but with good reason, man. Again, Keep It Clean podcast. Myself, Ray, myself, Nico, my brother Ray, my brother Ev, our brother Rose is with us in spirit. Again, we having these conversations in real time. Sometimes they're gonna get passionate, sometimes they're gonna get enthusiastic. We welcome all of that. But we always got to make sure that we keep it clean. We come back to the table with understanding, and we try to reach towards that in progress, man. So again, I appreciate y'all brothers for keeping it tall with me, keeping it clean with me. I appreciate y'all for coming back today and getting this thing back on the rails, because we was getting crazy yesterday, man.
And much love to y'all, man. Take conversations like this, and I hope you translate it into one. You have to acknowledge you're not really having a real conversation if there's no passion behind it. Let's start there. If your conversation sounds like love and flowers every single time, then y'all not really talking for real, and that person don't love you. So let's check that.
Thanks.
And then more importantly, getting through these types of conversations and when you see a better situation on the other side. So feel free and want that need to go engage in these types of talks with somebody that you love and build into that community. Keep it clean in that manner.
For sure, man. So this has been the show. Y'all out there, like, subscribe, comment, follow all of us. We're going to have a Keep It Clean page coming soon. specified logo, and we're gonna get that going. Yeah, man, we're gonna be here every Tuesday. New episode, visuals on YouTube, audio is on Spotify and Apple. Keep it a buck, keep it a bean, but most importantly, keep it clean, man.
Yep.
We out. And